Welcome, everyone, today to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Police Commissioner Linda Bernard. It's a great day here in the Motor City. We're broadcasting from WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world and the nation. You can watch us, listen to us, watch all of our shows and so forth on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So today I have a great guest. But before I introduce you to my guest, I just want to make a mention about Black History Month, and then I'm going to ask him to respond as well. As you know, this is Black History Month. I'm wearing a jersey that says 1935. In 1935, if you can see the back of my jersey, it says the Black Yankees. This was part of the Negro League baseball team. As you know, the Detroit team was known as the Detroit Stars. Those gentlemen were incredible athletes who had had no formal training, but who went on to achieve greatness even within the Negro League. And of course, since we couldn't go to white people's baseball games, we went to theirs and cheered them on mightily. So I just want to give a shout out to all the black athletes in the world who were prohibited and not allowed to participate in their sport to the fullest extent. And it doesn't just extend, obviously, to baseball. It extends to every major sport, in which, quote, we have been a first, when actually, in many instances, we were the originators. So, as part of Black History Month, I'm so happy to have here today with me an African-American man who is fine and distinguished and super smart, and who I have tremendous respect and regard for, Mr. Sean Tidwell. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Linda.
Well, it's great to see you and to be with you.
Always a pleasure seeing you.
You're a native Detroiter, and you know a lot about Detroit. Why don't you tell my listening audience something about you? But before you, well, I'll let you do that, and then I'm going to tell people how we know each other.
Oh, something about me?
Yeah, tell me about you. Where were you born?
Born and raised on the west side.
West side?
Yes. Born and raised. Always lived in this city. Always will live in this city. I love it. And it's been a great pleasure of mine growing up in this city. It made me who I am today.
I agree with you. I'm a native Detroiter as well, and I always say I wouldn't move to the suburbs because I didn't want to be on the plantation with all the white folks at the top and all the black folks at the bottom. That just wasn't something I would voluntarily do, you know what I mean? But I've stayed in the city, stayed true to the mission of Coleman Young and other black leaders in this community. So I understand your thoughts. So you went to Cass Tech, right?
I did.
Oh, the mighty CT.
Great CT. 95, fired up.
I see.
What up, though?
And after and so what did you do after that?
So, I'm an entrepreneur. Always have been, always will be. I've never.
Did you go to college?
I did not. I went straight from. Actually, I started my first business while still in Cass Tech.
I'm sorry. What is the name of this business?
Oh wow, I've had so many.
No, the first one.
Oh my
The very.
goodness.
Oh shoot. Well, what did it do?
Sheesh. My first.
What did you want to do after you graduated from high school?
Well, the interesting thing is, like most kids who went to Cass Tech, I was supposed to be college bound. But that just was not for me. I was planning to be a mechanical engineer, but I graduated high school that summer, and I bought my first property the summer that I graduated from high school. Actually, it's not too far from here. I no longer own it, but I've been buying and selling and renting real estate for quite a while now. Not gonna say how long because I'll tell my age if I do.
Oh, okay. So for
Quite
a
a
number
while.
of years,
Yes.
you've been doing this. Okay.
Yes.
So you bought your first property. Were you living at home then?
I was actually. I was
Okay.
still living with mom. And,
That's
and,
good.
and-
There's no
and-
problem with that.
No, absolutely.
No shame
not.
in that game.
Yep, still living with mom, but collecting rent. And,
Okay, so that's
okay.
how you were supporting yourself. So she didn't have to support you.
No, No, I mean, I have six siblings.
Good.
Yep. So I mean, it was my way actually to help out at home. I help support the family. So my dad actually is an entrepreneur, and that's where I got my entrepreneur spirit from. And all of my siblings are entrepreneurs. So
Really?
interesting story. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting that all six of you became entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So that's fair. Okay. So after you started in the real estate business, what did you do after that?
Well, before the real estate business, so my father owns a construction company. He actually opened it the year I was born. So
What's the name of it?
his company name is Tidwell Construction. And he
Okay.
also owns a security business, Tri County Entry System. So from a young age, my brothers and I grew up in the trade. So funny stories would be, Dad would drop us off before I was even driving. He would drop us off at job sites, and oftentimes the customer would look like, why are these kids here? But I mean, he taught us young, and we knew what we were doing, and it actually followed us throughout our lives, which is how I got into the real estate business, because it's like, hey, I'm making everybody else all of this money. I might as well do it for myself.
But you were learning how to make things better through construction, right? You were rebuilding, you were rewiring, you were redoing stuff.
That's
so
actually the motto of my construction company to this day: building a better Detroit.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Is.
So you were helping your dad do that. What I really admire about you, is your father still alive?
He is. Yes.
That's wonderful. What I really admire about your father was the fact that he engaged his children in his trade, and you guys grew up learning something, not just listening to music, not just hanging out with the kids, not just fooling around. I mean, he wasn't playing. Oh no, he had his baby tribe of 6, and he made sure that all of you guys would know enough about something to make money at it.
Absolutely. The work ethic that was instilled in us young is absolutely invaluable. I had that conversation with my kids daily, it seems like today, because this next generation is so entitled, and I was just actually talking about this with a friend of mine yesterday. The struggle is, you want the best for your kids. You don't want them to
just
feel
have to go
like
through what you had
they're
to go
struggling, but at the same time they need a little struggle in them in order to appreciate the things that they have. Everything that I've done, everything that I have today, I earned it. I worked for it. Nothing was given to me.
I understand how you feel. My father was my alpha and omega. Unfortunately, he's passed away.
Yes,
but for
sorry.
50 years, Sean, he was from Mississippi. Mm-hmm. He walked in the back door of Bloomfield Hills Country Club. Mm-hmm. You know what that is to a black man that's really smart, that has an appreciation for art and culture and classical music and writes poetry and does all kinds of stuff. Yeah. It's amazing the struggles that our parents had. And the sacrifices they made for us. And like you, he kept his family intact. My mother died when I was 5. And Daddy was only 34 and a single man with 3 kids. And so, everybody was like, well, I'll take Linda, I'll take Sharon, I'll take John. And Daddy said, none of that. I'm raising my children. And he put us all in Catholic school with paper in his shoes.
It's interesting because that story is actually very similar to my father's story. His mom died when he was... very young, 4 or 5. I forget. Mm-hmm, he would know much better than I. And his dad raised him and his 2 siblings, by himself. And I'm sure that's what put that work ethic in him.
It is.
Which was passed along to each of us, which we can only hope, which is quite a struggle to pass along to our children.
But it's really a character building exercise. Your father worked 2 different jobs, and mine worked 7 days a week, but he didn't steal, lie, or cheat. Daddy always said there is no shame in honest labor. Yeah. Even if you're a janitor, be the best janitor you can be. If you're not lying, cheating, and stealing, then you're on the right track. And besides that, he wouldn't have stood for it anyway. He'd have killed me on the spot.
It's amazing how, even though we've never had this conversation, some of the things that you're saying, I've heard so many times coming up, and I tell my kids, and hopefully someday they'll tell their kids and so forth. It's just whatever you do, just be the Best at it. I don't care
That's what Daddy said.
it is.
And then make
that
it
you
honor.
do.
As long as you're not lying, cheating, and stealing.
And I always tell them we have our thing where we call life lessons. So one of the first life
What
lessons.
is it called? Life blessings?
Life lessons.
Okay, what's a life
I've
blessing?
been telling my kids life lessons
Life lessons.
for as long as we can remember. It's different slogans, but the life lesson that I just heard and what you said is, and I always say it to them, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. No matter
I
what
like
it
that.
is, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it right.
You're
Be best
absolutely
at it.
right.
So,
You're absolutely right. But you're right about the sense of entitlement that kids have now. My nephews get a $4,000 a month allowance, and they still don't have any money because everything is Louis Vuitton, Hermes. Everything is designer.
which is okay to wear
Gucci.
designer, but you gotta appreciate it. And funny story, I just had a conversation with my son yesterday. It snowed. It's been snowing. I'm sick of the snow. I'm over it. But yesterday, it's like, son, when you finish school, go outside and shovel the snow. It's like we arm wrestle with this type of thing all the time. So he went outside for about 10 minutes, barely did
Decide right in
barely
front of
did
the car.
barely did the walkway, and he came back in. Dad, I'm cold, and the snow is heavy. That's a lot of work, and we talking and going back and forth. So it's a young guy in the neighborhood.
It comes through.
He comes by faithfully
Kyle has 16 houses on my block. He has all 16.
Listen, every time it snows. So this time he brought a friend with him. Okay, so he said, "Listen, Sean, it's a lot of snow out there. I brought my friend with me so we could get it done fast and we could do more snow." So I went inside to my son because it was just Valentine's Day a few days ago, and he wanted to buy his girlfriend some flowers. And his dad, "I need some money so I could do this." Well, son, you got to earn your money. So
Right.
I said to him, I said, "Come here, son." I said, "Look at these guys out here. Every time it snows, no matter what, these guys show up at
Right,
the house
right.
ready to work." I
Right.
said, "Now, if you were really thinking, you would have went outside and got those young men's number and say, hey, y'all hire workers, let me go set up the snow jobs and you come do the snow for me." I don't. That's the way I think. He didn't see it that way. I mean,
But you'd have paid him to do your snow. I'm a girl. I made money that way. All went along.
Yeah.
I shoveled snow. I cut grass for people since I was 12 years old. I mean, went to the store for people. If people don't want to go get their own. In those days, you could get cigarettes. You didn't have to be 18. So 11, 12, you could go to the store. I was always like that, I was never lazy.
It's just a different mindset. It's just a difference in mindset, and I don't know how you instill the right mindset in these kids other than keep having the conversations. I think you either got it or you don't. It's not something that's taught. It's something that can be brought out of you.
But I just want to go back to one thing you said about your dad, how he took you to the work site. There is no way that your dad, you hired somebody yesterday to do your snow, that your dad would have hired someone to do his snow. Your butt would have been out there.
Yeah, and
Am I
again,
wrong?
No, you're not.
It wouldn't even have been go shovel the snow, Sean. That would have been the discussion, and you wouldn't have had to been told because you already knew. When he got up, he didn't expect to walk out that door and have to clean off his car or shovel that driveway or that sidewalk.
And I think, and it's,
Because it would have been your behind.
partially our fault as parents and how we're raising kids, because I'm the type of person where if you ain't gonna do it nowhere, I'll do it, or I'll get somebody to do it. And again, like I said, it's that juggling act. Like, how do we get these children to appreciate what they have? We're still learning.
It's a struggle. So you were an entrepreneur from the very beginning.
Yes.
From what you're saying, even in high school, you bought your first house right after you got
I just remember
out.
my first business name.
What is it?
First Class Investments. That was my first.
Oh, that was the name because you were investing in housing.
First Class Investments.
So did you get other people's money too?
No, I didn't.
Just your
So
money?
initially, I started it by myself. Actually, the business was very different then. When I first started buying, I had mortgages on everything. Everything was levered. It had debt on it. And how you ran the business was completely different because you had debt. So part of it was easy for a long time, where it was like, as soon as I bought a house and fixed it up and put a for sale by owner sign in front of it, it was sold for a long time. Then obviously the business changed. So now we're very fortunate to have, most of our portfolio is debt free because the city went through the challenges that it went through for a while, and you were able to acquire for such inexpensive prices,
Cents on the dollar, right?
Yeah, and then of course now it's a completely different business again. So I mean that's just business. It has its ebbs and its flows, and you just have to.
How many properties did you? How many properties did you own ultimately? I mean, and sell.
Oh,
Would you say
I've bought and sold hundreds over the years.
hundreds? Okay.
Between buying and selling and holding for my portfolio, it's been quite a few. I mean, it's
And
been.
is it still first class investments anymore? What's it
No.
called now?
No, we have multiple LLCs that we own
Oh, okay.
under. You learn
Yes, business.
as you grow.
Mm-hmm.
Not to have too many assets in one company.
In case if there's a lawsuit, because you can bankrupt that company.
Hey, you're a lawyer,
I understand
so
well as an attorney. That's correct.
So it's different now, but yes, we still
So-
own quite a few.
So you diversified in terms of real estate and so forth. You're watching and listening to Chop It Up with attorney Linda Bernard on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. You can watch us, listen to us, and share us, subscribe to us on all social media platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, etc. So I look forward to hearing back from you online and otherwise regarding this broadcast, and my interview here with Mr. Sean Tidwell, who has, what's the name of the construction company that you have now? Is that your primary asset now, the construction company?
No, I actually have multiple businesses. So my construction company is called the Tidwell Group.
Okay.
And under the Tidwell Group, we do a lot of commercial build outs for several of the major developers in the city. A lot of stuff downtown. We also renovate all of the properties that my real estate business purchases. So residential and commercial construction.
I see, but you have some of the larger companies that you do business with in the city. Would you share with us who those are? Some names that people might recognize.
Well, I mean, I'm not a name dropper, but yes, we have done business with pretty much all of the major developers that's doing business downtown. So
Gilbert,
we've
etc.
done business with Bedrock, Olympia, several of the major developers.
So you enjoy construction, or you've stopped working with your hands now? You're only dealing with the business side of it, I assume.
It's in my DNA. I've done it since.
You know how to pick up a hammer
It's
or,
funny.
or a wrench.
It's funny. You shook my hand before. You said your hands are too soft to be in construction. I do not do as much as I used to. I'm fortunate enough to not have to. However, as I remind my guys all the time, hey, I can if I need to.
Right. You can show them how to do it the right way.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. So Tidwell Group Construction and the real estate company now is one of them, or whichever. You've got so many, you say, so.
So the main holdings company is Clear Choice Holding.
Okay.
But again, we have multiple LLCs that we hold properties under. I have a property management company that manages all of our properties.
That's great.
Yep,
You
that's
need
the
that.
property shop. We pretty much handle it from start to
I was gonna
finish,
say,
from
you're-
acquisition to renovation to leasing and managing our own portfolio. We don't do it for others anymore. Fortunately, we're at a position where we don't have to.
Have you had a lot of experience with the land bank?
So, actually, I'm in the midst of my first major project with the land bank right now. So, venturing into a new construction. So, we're building a 20-unit mixed-use building in North Corktown. We acquired the land from the land bank. The Tidwell Group is building it, and my management company the property shop is going to lease this space. So it's 20 units, a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. We do have a good mix of affordable units, as low as 50, 60, and 80% AMI units. So we're looking to do something great for the city. That project, I was very fortunate to be one of the inaugural members of the Capital Impact Partners Equitable Developers Initiative Program. So that is, have you heard of that program?
No.
Oh man, it's such an awesome thing. I think they're
What
in
is
there.
the name of this thing again? Say it again.
It's
So
the Capital Impact Partners EDI program.
Capital
Impact Partners.
Intake?
I'm sorry, Capital Impact.
Oh, Impact.
Right,
I got you. Okay.
Partners. It's their EDI program. So that program, they identify that all of the development that's going on in the city, which is a 80% black city, and there was only like 3 or 4 or 5% of the new developments were owned by minorities. So that's a major problem that they identify. So several years ago, I think it was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, now they did the EDI program, which was designed around helping to develop minority real estate developers. So again, I was in their original cohort. Like I said, now I think it's on number 5 or 6 or 7. I forget. But that was the beginning of my transition from residential real estate to commercial real estate. I learned so much about it. It's a great program. Anyone that is really seriously looking at getting into real estate development at whatever level of play you're at is going to elevate your game significantly. So,
I agree. I did some of that when I was in Boston. I was involved with a mixed-use development, and Boston has a zillion different rules and regulations. I'm licensed in Massachusetts, so and my client was a developer, and I remember all of the hoops we had to go through and everything to get the financing, to get the approvals and so forth that are necessary. So congratulations to you. Are you the only? I'm trying to think of the things that I know. Are you the only African American developer in Corktown right now?
Oh no.
Oh, that's good to know.
No. So
Because
several
the ones I know about are all white males.
So again, that is the majority of developers in the city. However, over the past several years, there are multiple minority developers that are poking their heads up and doing significant development. And I've been fortunate to meet and actually become friends with several of them. And it's such a great, it's such a great thing because unlike a lot of businesses, which is very unfortunate, this industry, everyone is so helpful to one another. They're sharing knowledge, and we're growing together, which, like I said, it's unfortunate with a lot of industries industries, that's just not the case. Everybody's keeping everything close, and it's like, no, I can't tell you that, but with development is 1,000% enough to go around. And like I said, I've become friends with some of the big name African American developers in the city and
contractors. Right.
We all are able to learn from each other and grow and help each other, and it's just really been a very positive thing.
So what you're telling me is what the Temptation said, it's a dog eat dog world, and then ain't no lie. That ain't true in Detroit.
You know what? I'm very happy to say that it
is not.
It is.
That is great to know. So African American people from all over the world who are listening to us today, come into Detroit. You'll find a welcoming environment, and you can partner up with established construction companies and developers like Sean Tidwell and the Tidwell Group.
Correct.
Okay, now, Sean, I met you actually kind of sort of by accident. You're a good friend of a friend of mine, the chief of police, who I call my brother actually, in the city of Inkster. who actually happens to be a white gentleman, and he introduced me to you. He said you were his brother.
My brother from another mother.
That's what he told me, and he said, but really, he really means it. He
Yes.
refers to you as there's nothing he wouldn't do for you, and he brought me to an establishment that you had just opened here in Detroit. Now we've talked about your investment issues. Your investment businesses, which is really, the real estate business.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And then, of course, your construction company.
Yes.
And then, of course, your management company to manage your properties. Is there any other business before we get to the business that I met you through?
It is. Again, I am a entrepreneur. Always have been. Always will be. And I have many business ventures. Another new one that I'm very excited about, which I have not spoken too much about to everyone before we get to the one that you and I met at, is we're actually in the process of launching our own tequila brand.
Tequila.
Yes, you know that is my.
Where's the
favorite.
lime and the salt?
No, the good tequilas, you don't need any of that. Just,
Oh, okay.
Just the spirit. That's it.
So you want to go into the alcohol business?
Well, I figure I drink enough of it. I may as well have my.
That makes sense. Whatever you use is what you should invest in. Whether everybody says you use Clorox, you use Tide, that makes sense to invest in the things that you use.
Makes sense to me.
I mean, that's just basic,
Yep.
Economics 101.
Yes.
So you want to do a tequila brand.
It's
Where you
something-
going back and forth to Mexico?
We are. We actually. So the interesting thing is, I have a couple of my favorite brands.
What are your favorites?
My favorite brands?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Most people don't drink the brands that I drink. So one of my favorite daily drinkers is called Addictivo.
Actic, how do you spell that?
Addictivo.
Okay.
Addictivo. That's one of my favorite daily sippers. One of their sister brands is called Cava de Oro. Again, most of these brands are not your typical, Patrons and Don Julios and the like. Completely different experience.
Why? How?
It's a sipper. It's not a shooter.
Okay.
Most people think, hey, yeah, tequila. Let's
Get shots.
No, it's a sipper. It's not. It's a grown folks drink.
Is it as harsh as
Not at all.
the taste
No,
of most? I've never been
not at all.
an alcohol drinker, really a wine drinker, but
Yeah, so,
it's just too harsh
no,
for
it's-
my palate.
No, it's something newer. Again, most people are not on to fine tequilas. I learned about it through chance. What I like about tequila is, very low in calories.
It is none.
Very, very, very low, if any, depending on the brand. You don't.
Has no
get
carbs.
No
Right.
carbs. You don't get too drunk. You don't wake up with a hangover.
You don't do that with any white liquor. That's properly distilled.
Well,
Vodka
there-
is distilled, the ones that 45, 50 times, at least the good ones are, and you don't have that hangover.
So-
Brown alcohol will give you a hangover.
So let me kind of adjust your thinking a little
Okay.
bit. So the good sipping tequilas are actually dark. It looks like a cognac or a whiskey or something like that. The extra añejos, they had a color. I mean, we'll experience some together at another time.
Okay.
But I've been hooked. All of my friends get hooked. I'm sure I'll probably get you hooked on it too.
Really? So you drink it straight?
Yeah,
I have never been a straight alcohol drinker.
That's because it has to be good alcohol. It's a
But
distinct
do you
difference.
get high real quick or drunk real quick?
You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot.
So you can sip it, is what you're saying.
You're supposed to.
Okay.
It's not a shooter. It's a sipper.
Okay, not a shooter, a sipper. They kill me when they tell you, okay, Linda, you got to do this right. I'm like, but I do it anyway.
What kind of grown folk want to do that?
Right, I don't like that.
It's so undignified.
It just is, but it is what it is.
Yes.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Chop It Up with attorney Linda Bernard on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. You can watch us, listen to us, and comment about us anytime on social media: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, at all. Everything and anything. So, once again, this is Chop It Up. And my guest is Mr. Sean Tidwell, who's an entrepreneur. I'm going to rename you. You are an entrepreneur par excellence. So that's what I'm going to call you.
I'll take it.
You are an entrepreneur par excellence. So just real quickly, how did you get into how are you getting into the tequila business? It's not part of your culture, not part of our community. Not we can't. What do you make tequila out of? Grain or what?
Agave.
Agave. Okay, we
I
don't
mean,
have any
obviously-
agaves in Michigan,
No, it's actually.
but we have a global economy too.
We do, and all the agave plant comes from Agave, Mexico.
Okay.
Yes. So
Yes.
I've learned a lot about that industry. I still have a ton to learn about it. We're pretty early in our venture. However, things are moving along well. We look to launch probably somewhere towards the end of the second quarter this year, maybe first of the third quarter this year. I'm very excited about it. We're still going through all the legalities of it, but again, it just made sense to me.
Well, it makes sense to invest in the things that you like and that you do.
Yes.
That just makes common sense. My brother John Bernard headed his own group for J.P. Morgan Chase. It's actually the whole group in Grosse Pointe,
Really?
and he had about $2 billion under management. And he's very entrepreneurial. I mean, he's investing in all kinds of things on boards in Florida and all this kind of stuff. And he says that's his mantra for investment. Invest in the companies that you use, because you know that people will do that. You don't have to be risky about some things, but you're very much, I think, a risk taker as an entrepreneur, but an educated risk taker. And one of the investments that you talked to me about was this cryptocurrency thing. So tell me why you decided, with all this boots on the ground activity that you have, stuff that you can touch and feel, and and be engaged with, drink, eat, see, nails, hammers, all this kind of stuff, and real estate that you can touch. You've always been in touchable businesses, and even the tequila business is a touchable business. So what made you decide that you wanted to be engaged in cryptocurrency, and why? And explain to our audience what it is, if you don't mind.
I'm still learning a lot about that as well. So yes, traditionally, majority or all of my investments have been tangible, because it is something I could touch. It's something that I can control, and that's just my personality. I like to spend my time and invest my time and money and energy into things that I can control. That way, the outcome is more on me than on others. I started investing in crypto just because it seems to be the way of the future. Again, I'm learning a lot about it still. But what I've learned thus far is, you have your major players in crypto. So you had a Bitcoin, which I invest in pretty heavily. The Ethereum, that I also invest in pretty heavily. Those are the main two that I invest in. And I'm not giving financial advice, obviously, but those are the main two players. And then you have what they call altcoins.
Spell that for me, please.
Alternative
Alternative coins. Okay.
So those are the spin-offs. Some of the not so widely recognized names.
But we're getting stuff in the mail and on email. I get these spam things every day about different cryptocurrencies. And they're cryptocurrency, you can buy it at the gas station. So tell me, what is this thing that you're investing in? And what is this phenomenon?
Well, I'm not the best person to explain exactly what crypto is. However, it's a alternative form of currency.
Correct.
It's something that is not controlled by any country. It's something that's supposed to be global. So here in the United States, we had a USD, and every country has its own form of currency, and the cryptocurrencies are supposed to be something that's universal. It's not mandated or controlled by any single government.
Company. Right.
Government.
It's all government. Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so to me, that just made sense because you know how, I mean, right now we have significant inflation in the U.S., which affects the value of the USD. We know what has been
The
going
U.S.
on.
dollar.
Correct. We know what has been going on in Europe.
Here we get ready to go to war.
Not only the war, but the great Brexit. From a few years ago. So, as I understand it, crypto is it gets around all of the politics that affects the different currencies of each nation. So
Well, first of all, there are only 4 or 5, as I recall, global currencies: the United States dollar, the Russian ruble, the British pound, the Chinese yen, and and Japanese yen, and I don't know about China. It has to be a global currency. That's about it.
yeah, but
In terms of that you can do business with from an international trade perspective. But what you're suggesting is that without the government regulation, of course, cryptocurrency can be one as well. But it's actually a computer generated currency.
it's digital. I mean,
It's digital.
Which technically
A million computers are working on
all
that one
currency is digital nowadays. I mean, it's no longer like the USD is no longer backed by gold. If you really understand.
Oh, I agree with that part.
It was initially,
to the 30s, to 35.
Absolutely. So it makes sense to me. It's speculative like everything else, but I invest in it. I do not recommend investing more of your portfolio than you are willing to potentially lose. I say I put my play money into crypto, but thus far we've been pretty successful with it.
Yeah, you mentioned to me, I think yesterday, that everything that you bought has increased in value in the cryptocurrency world. It went down for a minute, but then it comes back up.
So overall, I am up. Obviously, just like the stock market, the crypto is up and is down and is up and is down. Like right now, we're in the midst of a bear market. So overall, it's down so far this year. But what I've learned is, if it's something that you believe in, you buy it when it's down. It's like going to the mall and finding something on sale.
Correct.
You
Correct.
buy it when it's down.
That's correct.
Particularly if you believe that it's going to go back up at some point.
That's absolutely true. So you are a very unique man. You've been listening to your own drummer for a long time now. That's why you didn't go to college when you left Cass Tech, although I'm sure you could have gone. You're very, very smart. And you just have started doing things differently. And even now, as you talk about a tequila business, tequila man, these things are not traditional career paths for people. You are really an entrepreneur with a giant E. I'm gonna put an E on your chest.
Hey.
For entrepreneur. Hey. All right. Now we met at an establishment here in the city of Detroit, ladies and gentlemen, that you may not be aware of. It's really been communicated about through word of mouth.
Yes, intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that drumbeat in the community. That drumbeat. So Sean Tidwell has created a drumbeat.
Okay, I'll take that too.
And he, interestingly enough, it's right in the heart of the city, near the 10th precinct, and I know that because I'm a police commissioner and go down there from time to time. So why don't you tell me about this um, private, very private membership club that you started that has nothing to do with housing. It's not for realtors. It's not for people in the construction. None of the stuff that has been his baseline, if you will. Because usually people do things in their genre. You know, like I might do something in the law because I know the law. I mean, usually people quote kind of stay in their lane. But you just get out your lane all the doggone time. So now you're in a different lane. Tell us about high society. Very, very private, very, very intimate, very beautiful, and extremely classy, just like you.
Well, I thank you for that. So, as an entrepreneur, I learned very early when you identify a need that the public has and you feel that need, you have a great business opportunity. So how we got into high society, it was really brought along by COVID, quite frankly. So we normally throw a lot of engagements at the house throughout the year. But because of COVID, you couldn't really have as many people in your house, too many people coming and going. So I have a building that I owned probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. And that building is actually right smack dab in the middle of many of my rental properties. So I've used the building for years just as storage for building materials, for my properties. So it was velvet doors and windows and sinks and toilets and I don't know, just a bunch
Furnaces, everything, right?
Yeah, a bunch of construction materials. Actually, furnishings too, because we with my rentals, I often furnish units for some of my tenants. So we didn't talk about this, but Michigan has been on a fight against homelessness for quite some time now. So we do a lot of subsidized rentals. People who were homeless, they get on Section 8, they move into a place and they have nothing. So with me acquiring properties for years, I bought them from Wayne County Tax Auction. We buy them all kind of ways. Sometimes it's houses, full of stuff. Look like somebody just left and never came back. So we started. I don't throw away anything.
That's good if it has a use.
I don't throw away anything, so I started
My uncles
storing
were that
it.
way. If it has a use. I'm that way now too, so I have all this crap.
Yes. I started storing it in this building. I mean, it's a 6,000 square foot building, 3 stories. It was full of stuff.
Okay.
So we would furnish houses for our new tenants, for free. So a couple of years ago, and during COVID, I said, hey, we have pretty much emptied a lot of stuff out of the building, just giving it away to tenants, furnishing houses. Let's move our gatherings, friends and family, into the building. So we started renovations on the building. It was initially supposed to be really a clubhouse for me and my homies, is what I say, my friends and family. And it just kind of turned into a business. So yes, High Society is a private members-only club. We filled the space up with a lot of cool things that I like, a lot of tufted sofas and beautiful paintings and just a lot of cool things that we like, creating a safe space for our friends and family together. And it just kind of turned into a pretty cool business. And, I'm fortunate to have a lot of dope friends, artists and spoken word and musicians. And I mean, even Bill, our mutual friend that introduced us to one another. And it's just become a very cool collaborative space where we meet and we listen to good music and we drink fine tequilas together and spoken word and poetry and house music and jazz and just all the cool things that we like.
Well, I enjoyed the Super Bowl there. Y'all can
Yes.
talk about all this fine everything, but
Yes.
I am a Super Bowl football person and a sports aficionado. I was so excited last night watching everything on ESPN and that other TNT about the All Star game. Oh,
Yes.
it was so great
It
seeing
was.
all. I mean, everybody from Isaiah to everyone else.
Yes.
That was engaged with everything last night, and the Rising Stars
Rising
were so
Stars.
exciting to me because they've never even shaved.
Go
They're so
Kate.
young.
Go Kate. What up, though?
Yeah. Kay Cunningham was the
Yes.
MVP in the
Yes.
Rising Stars competition last night.
He was.
So I enjoyed
Hmm.
High Society not only for all the reasons that you just said, but because you have this monster 100-inch TV, whatever it is, and that sound bar, so I have the experience of the game, and I don't have to listen to anybody telling me turn it down, do something like that. Don't do that to me. I want to be in. I want to be in the moment. I'm an in the moment person.
Yes.
In general, people talk to me all the time. I don't answer my cell phone. I'm in the moment. Don't get it twisted. Life is for the living, and life is to be, to be enjoyed while you're living. Because you got a long time that you'll just be in a box. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. But I enjoyed the Super Bowl.
And we enjoyed having you.
At High Society. Now, what is how do you get to be a member of High Society?
Well, you kind of have to be in the know. You have to be either invited by a member. You have to be invited. Is the short of it.
Okay.
So we are on all of the social media platforms. High Society Lounge Detroit on Instagram and Facebook. All of the social media outlets. Or you
High Society. What did you call it?
High Society Lounge Detroit.
Lounge Detroit.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
And you say it's a private members only club.
it is.
Okay. So if people just came into town and wanted to come,
Well,
you
can
say I'm
cer-
from Los Angeles.
Uh,
I'd like to.
You can certainly reach out to us on social media. Again, we are a private club for a reason. Is safer for everyone. Is more comfortable for everyone. It keeps it exclusive. We do have non-member events where we will allow non-members to come in, check the place out. You check us out. We check you out. See if we are fit for each other for you to become a member. But again, just reach out through us on social media, High Society Lounge Detroit, and we go from there.
Well, what's so cool about it too is that you're not limited by other laws. I mean, you can stay open like you do till 4 a.m.
Well, it's a private club.
Yeah, so you can stay open 24 hours if you want to. Right.
Yes, but I can't.
Yeah,
stay
I know
for
you can't
24
do it like
hours.
that. You can, and you also have a large cigar selection
We
for
do.
those who like. You can smoke indoors
You can.
because it's a private club.
Yes.
You can smoke a cigar or even a cigarette, I guess.
Yes.
Indoors. You don't have to go outside and stand in the cold and the snow. And in
yes.
addition to that, you can also. I don't think you smoke cannabis, but you have food products that are cannabis. Is that correct?
Yes. So we are.
How does that? You don't, because I never smell marijuana. Can you smell? I guess you can, right?
Some do.
Okay, I've not
some,
smelled it.
Some
Okay.
do. Because we are a private club.
Oh, but before you tell us about the pipe, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not oppressive because he has the scrubbers in the ceiling.
You don't even smell it.
No, you don't. The smoke evaporates. I mean, he's really smart like that. It doesn't smell like smoke. Your clothes don't smell like smoke. And I've never smelled marijuana, but I mean, so maybe it's just sucking it up. So, but anyway, go ahead. You were going to say something about the club too.
Because we are a private club, there are some leniencies to private club that you cannot take advantage of if you're open to the public. So, it's a great thing. It's a fun place, very comfortable. I get approached by single women members all the time who say to me, I just love coming here. They come by themselves, which is not many places where a single mid-aged woman will feel comfortable to go by herself and not have
Oh,
to
I
worry
feel
about.
comfortable going wherever I want to go. You already know that.
Well, you
I roll differently.
You're very special, Linda.
Roll
You're the
differently.
exception, not the rule.
Let me tell you, but the funniest part about it, ladies and gentlemen, when I was there, I'm a huge popcorn person. I pop my own popcorn. I don't do that microwave stuff. So on my mother and my father, right now on my stove is a big pot of, I cook it in a great big pot, on a pot of popcorn. I was eating popcorn last night. I got to stop because I've got to lose this weight, but that's a whole separate issue. Anyway, I come in to the club and there's these big bags of popcorn. So I'm like, wow, I can get some popcorn. He said, Sean said, Linda, that's not the popcorn that you like having at home. That's a marijuana
It's
butter.
It's
or is it?
medicated. So we have certain vendors that bring in their medicated products. Very delicious edibles.
Which ones
medicated
would you recommend?
So, our favorite vendor, they're called Whole Ass Vibe.
I'm sorry, spell that.
Whole Ass Vibe. I believe it's WHOLEAZZVIBE. And VIBE. Whole Ass Vibe.
Vibe.
No, Vibe. With a
B.
Correct. That's one of our favorite medicated vendors, and they make just absolutely delicious.
I like the way you put it. Medicated vendors. I gotta say that medicated vendors.
That's the proper jargon.
It's interesting that we're talking about medicated issues and so forth.
Yes.
But I guess we're going to have to talk about the. I'm surprised you're not in that business, but we're going to talk about that. I'm going to have you back so you can talk more about High Society Lounge Detroit, and that's on all social media platforms. Is what you said.
Yes, it is.
So everybody can. Let people let you know they want to come or whatever.
Yeah,
right
please
on there.
reach out to us.
So
please.
you have somebody that reviews all this stuff every day, and I don't know how you do it, John. How do you wear so many hats? Just to the audience. I mean, I know it takes a team. I always say a general is not worth a damn without a good front line.
Well, it absolutely takes a great team. I mean, for me, it's just what I do. It's just what I've always done. But I have not done it by myself. It takes a village to raise a kid. It takes a team to
make a business successful.
Absolutely.
Well, I want everyone who's listening to go online and check out High Society Lounge I guess it's slash.
Just High Society Lounge Detroit.
Just one word. Okay.
Society
And so you can
Lounge
just
Detroit.
Google it and it'll come up, correct? Okay. And I want you to join me there because I enjoy the place, and I particularly enjoy the spoken word artists and the young musicians that you have, because I'm always done entertainment work. So this is great. It's a great experience for me. It's a great experience for most of the people that come there. And he mentioned single women going. I don't know if you heard WJR this week. They did a national poll. There are more single women in the city of Detroit than any city in the country.
That's amazing.
And it's number 2 for single men, but most of the men are in Southfield.
I heard that.
It was on the news. They repeated it 100 times.
Well, we got to get them together at High Society.
Oh, okay. All right now. See, you got a plan. Thanks again for tuning in to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. Also, Police Commissioner Linda Bernard, always serving our community. Thank you, Mr. Tidwell.
Thank you for having me.
At the entrepreneur par excellence, who
Happy
has
on my
thumbs, fingers, in every pool, every little pond, every inkwell around town, but especially High Society. Come join me. I enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen. You will too. Have a great